couple of months ago, my sister and I ended up in a laughing fit when we realized that she had nearly been trafficked to Epstein by David Copperfield, the magician. She was there for a show, and what he does is, or one of the tricks they do is, he picks out the beautiful girl from the audience, has her come up, do her thing with him, go back and has his staff come right afterwards and say, oh my gosh, David wants to meet you. So they take her back there, and then they just lavish all this praise on them. Like, oh my God, we've never seen anyone be so amazing on the stage. Like, you just worked with David so well. We want you to start traveling with us immediately. We can take you all over the world. We can connect you to all these things. But we need you to start right away. So they get their phone number, right? And my sister's very shy. She didn't want to do it, but I think she just felt obliged to. So she gave it to him. Then they contacted her, and David wanted to meet up with her, like on a date, while he was dating Claudia Schiffer, the supermodel. So he called, and she basically refused and said, aren't you dating Claudia Schiffer anyway? And he got mad and said, well, I have more to lose than you do. And he wanted her to come by herself because she offered, just to be polite, like, well, I would have to show up with a friend. And he got mad and declined the whole thing. And then she later heard the same exact story from a girl that came into her salon just a couple months later. And then she happened to run across him when she was visiting my sister in Vegas, and he saw her and he ran. Well, as I was looking up all this stuff to make all these connections, I came across the name Paulo Zampolli. And here's a picture of David Copperfield, Trump, David Zampolli. I don't know who the other guy is. But this is when they were all hanging out and had their modeling agencies. And Paulo started his agency in the mid-90s. It was called ID Model Management. Now, I tried to look up his background because on Wikipedia, all it says is like successful New York businessman. But it's like there's no like anything about his youth, his teenage years, college years, anything like that. Just successful businessman. Well, in this modeling world, that is where supposedly Melania came through, was through his agency. He says that he got Melania her visa. She says she came here with a visa. So he says maybe she remembered wrong. Now, there was a book written by a British historian named Andrew Lowney, and the book was entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York. Well, he wrote a book about formerly Prince Andrew and the fall of all of that, and said that Epstein was involved with Melania before he gave her to Trump. And then Trump got pissed that that was in the book, even though 60,000 copies had been sold. So they did a revision and took that out. But supposedly there's 60,000 copies out there. Anyway, so he's suddenly this, model agency, head of that, bringing in all these women to meet rich men. It's essentially an escort service, except these women are brought in and pressured into all of these situations. And later there would be complaints of financial exploitation, like they'd bring them in, but they would charge them for everything. They'd put them in debt. They'd put them in these apartments. But they overcharged everything. And then they also would put them like cattle. Like there was a whole bunch of them in a tiny apartment with just bunk beds. Then they'd arrange these dates and, which they'd say, well, we're going to connect you to all these rich and powerful men, which of course led to them being basically forced into sex. Well, as he's doing all of that, he says that he met with David Copperfield and Donald Trump, and they must have used their magic on him because they convinced him, oh my God, you're so good at that. You should be a real estate mogul. Because why not? And I just think that's so strange because a modeling agency to all of a sudden he's just this real estate guy that sells penthouses and all this stuff. And he does it by having the models, making them do the sales. And the thing says we service rich men that want to buy real estate and cater to all of their needs. No shit. I just think it's a very weird thing to go from that and kind of like a matchmaking service to now real estate. Well, after all of that, he decided to live a quieter life. And in 2011, he became a permanent representative for Dominica, then Grenada for the UN. And in 2012, Ghislaine Maxwell set up a nonprofit organization, Terramar Project, in 2012. And Zampolli sat on the board along with a shipping magnate, Scott Borgerson, and other global elites. Now, their donor list was undisclosed, the structure was opaque, and their networking opportunities were infinite. And this nonprofit moved completely in the Epstein circles. Shocking. And then Jeffrey Epstein was arrested for sex trafficking in 2019, July 6th. And then Terramar, that nonprofit, suddenly without notice closed on July 12th. And Ghislaine Maxwell just disappeared from public life. There's like no paper trails on this shit. And I really feel like it was used as another cover. I feel like a lot of these charities are for the elite. It's, I don't know, money laundering or whatever it is, but like it allows them to move in circles and get people involved because it was called like Save the Ocean Project. They're just slippery suckers. It says on Wikipedia that in 2020, he was appointed to the Board of Trustees at the JFK Performing Arts Center by Trump. And then January 2021, he was put on in the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition, which is weird because that's the very end of his presidency and he was leaving, so I don't really understand that. But since March 2025, since Trump got in again, Zampolli serves as United States Special Representative for Global Partnerships, and I saw somewhere else that he's a special envoy to Italy. And maybe all of you knew that, but for some reason, well, I didn't because I don't pay attention to his creepy people, but I feel like it's very strange that the guy that was in the center of everything with him is also basically in his administration. We haven't been talking about that, but he's very likely in the freaking files. And another thing that is super weird about this dude is he has a giant, like a 10-foot tall oil painting of Donald Trump in his house. And he would keep that up with a bunch of other portraits of him as he invited guests while Trump from 2016 to 2020. He would bring them in and, you know, people would take pictures with the freaking oil painting. Then I guess when Biden came in, they had him put those things away because he was still greeting guests and talking to people. And he's just like a chameleon. Like he's close enough to the center, but not enough where his name is really mentioned publicly, but he is absolutely in the thick of all of this. And it's a close friend of his. He's a friend of Clinton's. You know, there's just, they're just all in on it. But there's no way that it's a coincidence. It was like modeling to real estate to politics. Like it's just this roadmap to corruption. So the moral of the story is, I can't wait to see what's in the files about Melania, Paulo, David Copperfield, Trump, and Epstein.